World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Pressbox Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, July 9th, 2025, and the Philadelphia Eagles are still Super Bowl champions, and the Philadelphia Phillies are still in first place. Welcome to the Philly Press Box Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and the STT Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. Chet, the Phillies can excite you on the edge of your seat, thanks Zach Wheeler, and thanks to a lot of things this afternoon, and disappoint you with some awful hitting and runners in scoring position, as we saw last night. Who knows what you're going to get? The All-Star teams have been selected, so Phillies got left off. We'll talk about that. The NBA Summer League got started, giving us our first look at VJ Edgecombe, and I know you're excited about that. And we're going to present our list of the top 12 current pro athletes in Philadelphia. We have plenty to talk about, as always, in Philly sports.
Well, Bill, I know how excited you are about Sixers Summer League basketball action. You live for that stuff. Yes. But yeah, a lot going on. A great debut, by the way, by the rookie VJ Edgecombe, who in Sixers tradition then missed the next couple of games with an injury. Not too bad, just a thumb contusion. The Phillies, with another up and down week that has them just a half game up on the Mets in the NL East. And that's going to be fun, talking about our favorite dozen or the top dozen athletes in Philly pro sports.
Absolutely. And first off, we're going to talk about the Phillies and baseball. We have a great guest tonight making a return visit to Philly Press Box Radio in Hall of Famer Paul Hagen joining us.
Well, we talked with Paul the first week of the season, and I thought it would be appropriate to bring him back for a mid-season checkup. So, Bill, let's get it going.
Let's get to it. Let's welcome Paul Hagen back to Philly Press Box Radio. Paul, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Hey, Paul, I wanted to talk about Bryce Harper, and I was going to say about how awful, he's been since coming back. What does he do today? He goes 4 for 5 with a homer and 3 doubles. That being said, how important is it for Bryce to be, Bryce Harper, if they're to make a postseason run?
I think it's important for everybody to be, as I say, at least playing to the back of their baseball cards.
Yeah.
If you want to go deep in the postseason. Competition's obviously better. Pitching's obviously better. You really can't have a whole bunch of automatic outs. And that there's going to be a guy or two who doesn't hit.
Yep.
But for the most part, you need your big boys to be big boys.
Well, Paul, hopefully today was the coming out for Harper and he gets this thing going. But I think, we all know that this bullpen is a situation. Let's call it that at this point. Do they have what it takes? They're going to have to make some deals and hopefully not sell off the future to win now.
Well, I think that's always, the balance for the general manager. And I think it's even more interesting this year because I'm not one of these people who says the Phillies window is closing, but I do think the window could be closing with these players.
Yeah.
In the sense that, Schwarber's a free agent. Real Muto's a free agent. Castellanos is a year away from being a free agent. Ranger Suarez is a free agent. So to me, it's harder to trade off prospects now in the sense that you might need them if you do not, if you don't bring people back. On the other hand, you could make the argument, well, if you're going to win with this group, you need to do what you can to win now. So I think it's a philosophical discussion. I do think that it's going to be hard to make trades this year in the sense that, with the expanded playoffs, there are so many teams that convince themselves they're in it. And even if they're not active sellers, not active buyers, don't necessarily want to be sellers either. Mm-hmm. I also think that a lot of teams want bullpen help. And so if there are bullpen guys out there, they could be very expensive.
Well, the deadline is July 31st. I think we know the priorities are, maybe another outfielder, preferably one who can hit, and a bullpen guy or two. So do you think Dombrowski will make any kind of big splash moves, or will it just be a little tinkering and, some tweaks here and there like last year?
Well, I think it's hard to say. I'm sure that he would make a major move if it makes sense, but, without knowing who is really available as opposed to who's rumored to be available.
All right.
It's awfully hard to tell. And even if I knew exactly who was available without knowing what the other teams wanted in return. So I think it's really almost the equivalent of a game time decision for Dombrowski or every general manager to just, read the room and react and do the best you can with the options that you have available to you at that time.
Paul, you've been watching this game for a long time. There's all the buzz about Andrew Painter coming up. We had Mick Abel up for a little bit. Andrew Painter hasn't thrown a big league pitch yet. Everybody kind of wants him to be the guy that we're going to just bring up and he's going to step in and do great things and take us down the stretch. You've seen this a few times in your career.
Everybody loves the backup quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the shiny new toy right now. And, if he was pitching lights out at AAA, I think that would be one thing. I've seen guys with mediocre numbers at AAA come up and pitch very well at the big league level, especially the first time around the league when people don't really have a lot of video on them. But I think the Phillies will make that decision based on a couple things. One, his health, because he is coming off the Tommy John. And secondly, whether they think he can actually help them and not just help them because clearly he's on some sort of an innings pitch limit this year. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you would want to bring him up too early, have him pitch a bunch of innings, and then they have to do a Steven Strasburg with him where he can't pitch in the postseason. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So again, we want to have simple answers to these questions, but a lot of times there's a whole bunch of moving pieces here, and it just really depends on how they all fit together. The number one thing being, I think, what is the level of urgency at the big league level, and how well is he pitching? Does he give them confidence that he can come up here and be successful?
Yeah, Painter has not been great lately. Last night, he gave up, I think, 5 runs in 5 1/3 innings, a 3-run homer in the 6th inning, has the ERA up to 4.97. So going to be interesting to see what happens with him. Meanwhile, Aaron Nola is continuing to rehab and we would think would be back shortly after the All-Star break. What do you think Nola's going to be like after, being out so long and his, not so great start to the season otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure exactly where he is in his rehab, but whenever he starts, he's at the start of spring training, right? I mean, he's been out long enough so that he's going to have to start out probably with, 2 innings to start, move it up to 3 innings. And it could take him several weeks to get back to, where they think he can throw enough pitches at the big league level to make sense to have him activated. So, again, it really depends on how he progresses. And I will say that whenever a guy comes off the disabled list, you never know. You never know what you're going to get, a hitter or a pitcher. He may fall right back into a good groove, or it may take him a while to get his legs back under him. But that's one of the things that makes it fun to watch, I guess.
Yeah. And to follow up on that, I just read this afternoon that he threw 30 pitches today off the mound in Clearwater. So, I mean, he's just really just getting started. He's a long way off.
He's a ways away.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you mentioned, some of the free agency and things coming up. How, with possibly having to break up the band here, if they don't win, how urgent is it to win? Do you play your cards a little differently now because, as you mentioned, 4 or 5 different guys are in contract situations?
Well, I think you always try to win if you can. I do think what makes it a little different this year is that, I don't think you ever want to totally empty the farm system to try to win once. I think you might consider some things that you wouldn't otherwise. But that's why Dave Dombrowski makes the big bucks. He's got to end up making those calls. And we look back. I've been working on a book about how Citizens Bank Park has had an impact on the Phillies franchise. And you go back and you look at the different eras leading up to that, and you look at Ed Wade getting fired after the 2005 season because they hadn't made the playoffs. But now he's going on the Wall of Fame in large part because he didn't trade Cole Hamels. He didn't trade Jimmy Rollins. He didn't trade Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, any of those guys when he could have had a little bit better record, snuck into the playoffs and kept his job, but he didn't do that. So I think he's got to have a lot of credit for that. But that's the decision you make. How much of your future are you willing to give up? How do you value these players as opposed to what the other teams value? Maybe a team comes to you and says, hey, we can't do this deal without player X. They're really high on player X. Well, you might not be as high on player X as they are. So then obviously you can make a trade.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Paul, I want to talk to you about what happened on Monday night in that game. Home plate ump Phil Cuzzy, with clearly a rough night behind the plate calling balls and strikes. He missed at least 15 pitches over the course of the game. I think the official umpire scorecard had it at 15. We saw a lot of them, to Bryce Harper, and then we saw Kerkering striking out a guy really 3 times, but not getting that strikeout. We talked in April, you and I, about the fact that you said it was inevitable that MLB will adopt the automated ball strike challenge system. Can we do that soon, Paul? Because that was atrocious.
Yeah, I do think it's coming. I think if for no other reason, Major League Baseball spent so much money on it, you almost have to go to it now, right? Can't just throw that money away. As I think I also told you, though, I don't want to rush into this. I think, I think you have to have somebody in charge on the field, as I've said before, and I don't think you want to kneecap the umpires either too much. I think they have to be authority figures. Somebody's got to be in control. I like the minor league system where there's a limited number of challenges and it goes really quick and really fast and doesn't hold up the game. So if they do something like that, I think that would probably be the best way to do it, at least from my perspective.
Well, Paul, I'm not for it. But I'm not for these guys stinking every night. Like these guys, I don't remember, maybe there's too much technology now where you see it more. I don't remember, as growing up and watching baseball for all these years, these guys being this bad, and it's this bad every night in every game. Why? And why can't they be better? You can't stink at your job like that.
Well, I guess the first thing I'd say in defense of the umpires is it probably looks pretty easy when you're watching on TV and you see the little box and you say, oh, that was a strike, that's a ball. I think it's a lot harder when you're standing behind the catcher. But I also think that, it seems to me like every year this information becomes more readily available. It's easier to find out how many calls the guy supposedly missed. And I also am not entirely sure the technology is perfect either. And the third thing is I'm not entirely convinced that you can use a one strike fits all strike zone, which they seem to do if you go by the box to some extent. I don't know. And also I'm not sure that the box, if you look at it, is the real strike zone. It seems to me like it's just above the belt, and that's not where the strike zone is supposed to be.
Right. So
I think they have some things that they have to work out. The cynic in me says, that baseball is pushing getting the information out when an umpire has a bad night to sort of till the ground for the idea that they're going to go to some sort of automated ball strike system. And I think if they are, it certainly seems to be working, because I think you hear more complaints about it than you used to. But I'm not sure that it's worse, or if it just seems worse because we have so much more information.
Paul, we kind of hinted at this earlier, how much of a window this Phillies team has. So what do you think? Will JT Realmuto be back next season? And Kyle Schwarber, will he get re-signed?
Well, it depends on how much money they want. And even more importantly than that, how many years they want it for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
2 years on JT, 2 years on JT max.
Right. But let's say he wants 4.
Yeah.
And let's say there's a team out there willing to give it to him. What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And honestly, I don't think Kyle Schwarber is in exactly the same situation, but there is a thought process out there that older power hitters tend to age more quickly than other guys. I'm not saying Kyle Schwarber will. I'm not even saying it's necessarily true, but I'm saying that seems to be something that teams take into account when they talk about how many years they want to give a guy like Schwarber or Realmuto. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would be very comfortable, and I would think the Phillies would, doing something like they did with Zach Wheeler. You can have a whole lot of money. We'll overpay you on an AAV. We just won't do it for 4, 5, 6 years. Mm-hmm. We'll do it for 2 years, maybe 3. Mm-hmm. And then if you're still good, then we'll talk about doing it again.
There you go.
Yeah, the challenge, I think, with Schwarber, Paul, we've talked about this a few times here on the show. He's making $20 million. Stanton with the Yankees is the highest paid DH at $32 million now. Schwarber's better than Stanton. So does Schwarber want to be in that? And he's 32 years old, Schwarber. Does he want to be in that 35 million, 40 million a year range for 3 or 4 years? Somebody going to pay him, but is it going to be the Phillies?
Well, it depends. Whenever somebody says to me, do you think a player will sign with a certain team? I always say, I don't know, because I don't know what his priorities are. Is it money? Is it comfort? Is it family? Maybe he's got family in the area. Maybe his wife's got family in the area. Maybe there's something else involved. I don't know. Without knowing what a guy values beyond just money, and believe it or not, I think some of them do take that into account. It's really hard to guess. So I don't know how high the Phillies are willing to go. I don't know what Kyle Schwarber's drop dead number is, especially in terms, again, of length. I think the length of the contract is a way more contentious issue for all these guys than it is the actual number of dollars per year.
Hey, Paul, this was a topic on sports talk radio the other day in the wake of Zach Wheeler's, great start on Sunday, the one hitter. You've got one game that you need to win, and you can choose from these guys as your starter: Curt Schilling, Cole Hamels, Roy Halladay, or Zach Wheeler. Who's your guy?
Curt Schilling.
Wow. That was fast.
I mean, not that any of those guys, not that I wouldn't love to have any of them.
Yeah.
But I have never in my life seen a pitcher who loved the attention, loved the big game more than Curt Schilling. Yeah. Rose to the occasion more than Curt Schilling did. The more the game mattered, the bigger it was, the higher the stakes, the better he was.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Paul, I got to circle back one more time before we run out of time. Can Rob Thompson take this team home?
Uh-oh.
Can he?
Can he? Will he? He hasn't so far.
Bill has his doubts.
Bill's had his doubts for several years, all the way back to the Astros World Series where he mishandled the bullpen. He still mishandles the bullpen. Can they win with this guy?
Let me tell you a quick story. Charlie Manuel was early in the second year of his first contract with the Phillies, and Philly.com was running polls on whether he should be fired. Dave Dombrowski was having to deny regularly that he was going to get fired. Charlie had a mini meltdown at the All-Star break. talking about how he didn't think it was fair that he had to listen to all the speculation about him being fired. And today, I would argue that any alumni weekend, any event they have where the old timers are there, Charlie gets the biggest ovation of any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So can they? Sure. Will they? You can't say. The best team doesn't always win. Postseason, especially as it gets longer and longer, becomes more and more of a crapshoot. But yeah, I think they have as good a chance of winning with Rob Thompson as they would with, I would have to say, if you don't want it to be Rob Thompson, who do you want? And I will tell you, whoever that is, I think they have as good a chance with Rob Thompson as they have with anybody else you might care to name.
There you go. Well, Paul, when we talked in April, you said you were expecting that you would have 2 baseball books coming out in 2026, one that you wrote about baseball writing, and the one you mentioned earlier you're working on with our pal Kevin Cooney about the Phillies' success since the opening of Citizens Bank Park. So give us an update. How's everything looking with those 2 projects?
Well, the first one, Temple University Press, has the final manuscript. So now it's up to them to get it out by the spring. The second one, we have an August 15th deadline. So we've got some work to do, but I have to tell you, to me, it's interesting how the Phillies have been able to leverage Citizens Bank Park to have the kind of success they've had since it opened.
Yeah.
A lot of teams have gotten new ballparks in that era and have not been able to build on that the way the Phillies have. But the really interesting part to me is the whole lead up to it. Why was Veterans Stadium considered such a dump when it had only been open 15 years? Bill Giles was in negotiations with the city to take over the Vet and turn it into a baseball stadium when he went down and saw Camden Yards in 1992 and changed his mind. Then there was 8 years of trying to decide, would it go downtown or would it go back to the sports complex? So I think all the ins and outs and political intrigue and all that led up to it, to me, is just as interesting, or maybe even more interesting, than what they've been able to do once they got into it.
Hey, Paul, you are a member of the Baseball Hall of Fame. I love to say that because it's so cool. What did you think of the decision that came out regarding Pete Rose and Joe Jackson becoming eligible for the Baseball Hall of Fame? Do you have thoughts on that, and do you have thoughts on Pete Rose in general as a Hall of Famer?
We could probably talk for a couple hours about that, but my first reaction is that I find it a little too convenient that as soon as he dies, they decide to do that.
Yeah.
I would have much rather. I do not think Pete should have been reinstated to baseball. I do not think he should have ever worked in baseball again. But that, and people don't seem to understand this, that is an entirely separate issue about being eligible for the Hall of Fame. Baseball and the Hall of Fame at any time could have said he's still banned from baseball for life. He can never work in the game again, but he is eligible to be voted in by the Hall of Fame if the Veterans Committee so decides. And the fact that they waited till after he died to make this change, I find that a little petty, maybe is the word I'm looking for. I have mixed emotions about Pete being in, but I guess if I had to decide one way or the other, I would say it's kind of hard to have a Hall of Fame without a 7-time Cy Young winner, without a 6 or 7-time MVP, and without the all-time hits leader and the all-time home runs leader. It's what he did was terrible. Shouldn't have done it. But in the end, I think that his play on the field deserves to get a plaque with a notation that he did something that he really shouldn't have done.
Very good. Well, Paul, I think we have used up all your time, and we certainly, as always, appreciate it. You're full of baseball knowledge that we could talk for hours. Maybe we need a Paul Hagen special.
Yeah, we can come back and we can talk about the time I saw back-to-back inside the park home runs in a game.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
You've seen a lot, Paul. You've seen a lot.
Hey, Paul. One final question just popped into my head about the Hall of Fame. Do you go to back up there each year, and are you going to be there for Dick Allen going in here in a couple weeks?
It's a year-to-year decision. I generally go, and I'm definitely planning on going this year.
Awesome.
Very good. All right, Paul, we appreciate you coming by, and let's do it again.
My pleasure. Anytime.
All right. All right.
Phil, before we move on, let me do something. First of all, let me switch our...
Paul's great, by the way.
Oh, Paul is always
great.
Good. And, people respect him and really like getting his insight. Now, I wanted to play this. You said you didn't hear this, Bill. This is Scott Fransky the other night. This was after... because he missed the first strike that Kerkering threw. This is Fransky with Kevin Stalker on Phillies radio.
So this isn't Harper. This is Kerkering.
Right. This is Kerkering pitching, and these are the next couple of pitches. So here we go.
1-2 pitch. And that one is...
That's again, he just doesn't understand the zone right now. He's really lost. I'm a little surprised, JT.
I'm a little surprised that somebody on the bench hasn't been thrown out of this game at this point.
I'm sure JT's got to be in his ear.
Kerkering ready, the 2-2. And that one is another strike he misses. He's literally struck him out 3 times.
I didn't like it.
What is going on?
That's as animated as I've ever heard Scott Fransky, being upset about something. So.
Well, and Tom McCarthy and Ruben were the same way on the TV broadcast.
Yeah, Ruben especially.
Yeah, I mean, we're watching it like, really? I mean, these are strikes. Now, that brings me to my another point, because I'm really irritated about this. Where was Rob Thompson? Rob Thompson needed to be out there and owned Phil Cuzzy. He should have got thrown out. He should have defended his players. Harper, man, he took it like a man. He took it way better than he.
Yeah, he said he likes Phil Cuzzy. He respects him.
But he rung him up twice. Well, he rung him up the first time on a bad pitch. He gives him 2 strikes on the next one. He's up there swinging the pitches 5 inches out of the strike zone. Somebody needed to go, and it doesn't need to be your assistant coaches saying something from the dugout or walking to the mound. Rob Thompson needed to step up and come get his players. So what if you get thrown out of the game in the 8th inning? Big deal, and it really irritates me if for no other reason. It was a bad look on my part for Thompson. He needed to go off.
I will agree with you on this one. Yeah, I like Thompson more than you do, but I do think he should have definitely gone out and complained and made a bit of a scene. Now, as I mentioned at the start of our interview with Paul, I was going to, lead with Bryce Harper, but then Harper goes 4 for 5 and I had to change things around. But I was going to play this from Mike Missinelli, because Mike Missinelli on 97.5 yesterday had this to say about Bryce Harper, which I found kind of interesting. Maybe Harper heard it. Here it is.
The first baseman right now can't play. You can talk about the bullpen, you can talk about left field. Right now, my biggest worry and my Phillies' biggest problem is that Bryce Harper is not well enough to be effective. And I don't know if that's going to change. He's got a problem with his wrist that I think is influencing his brain and his confidence to hit a baseball. That's a major problem.
I think Harper heard that.
Well, I mean, I think we all tend to do this every time guys struggle, right? We were wanting to get rid of Marsh. We were wanting to get rid of Stott. We were wanting to get rid of JT. They were all hitting 200, 180. Now they're all back up in the 250, 60s, where you expect them.
Yeah, March has hit 319, I think, since May 1st. So.
Bohm. Everybody want to run Bohm out of town again. Yeah. It's a long season, and for hitters, just as Paul was saying about Nola needing to start like he's in spring training, Harper was out a long time, and you hope he's healthy. I mean, I hope he didn't come back too soon, but he needs some at-bats, and hopefully today, like they always say with a guy like him, when you're driving the ball to the opposite field, means you're on the ball, and he hit all 4 of his hits today, all went to left center field, and that's as big a sign to me as winning this game was the fact that Bryce Harper was such a contributor today.
Absolutely. Yeah, he had been 4 for 22, I think, with no extra base hits and 10 strikeouts since coming back, going into today's games. Today he goes 4 for 5. First time in his career he's had 4 extra base hits in one game. So that was great.
Yeah, and did you see his interview after the game on the post-game
I didn't see
live?
it, no.
Yeah, I mean, they asked him.
And he felt fine, I heard them say.
Yeah, but they asked him what was the difference in today's game versus some other games, and he says, I wasn't behind in the count. I wasn't chasing bad pitches. I wasn't getting bad calls. He didn't say that, but I knew what he was referring to. He was ahead in the count. He was getting a hitter's pitch, and that's what you have. And then all of a sudden you can start driving the ball and doing other things.
Joe Howe being a little sarcastic here, I think.
Yeah, right? You think? Well,
let's move along, Bill.
Well, we'll probably talk about Harper a little later as we get to our top 12.
He may make the list.
But they're not going to win unless he's a real contributor to it. So he better get on board.
Absolutely.
All right, Chet. Philly Pressbox Radio, part of the STT Sports Network, as in Set the Trends, a network set up by our pal Phil Stiefel, host of the terrific Trending in the AM show that you can find every weekday morning on the STT Sports Network YouTube channel. Check out Phil. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Phil's show is on there, and so is ours. Yep, you can find Philly Pressbox Radio there in addition to on our own YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. Again, it's the STT Sports Network, setting the trends for what sports talk should be.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Chet, dead of the summer. We're almost mid-July. What's going on at the Irish Rover Station House? I bet you the beer's cold.
Always cold beer at the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, Pennsylvania. It's one of my favorite places to visit for a beer or two and some great food. I like the wings usually when I go. The Rover always has dinner specials Thursday through Sunday, Killer Burger Thursdays. Also on Thursdays in the evening, they have specials with wings and Stella. Yeah, that's right. Thursday evenings after 7 p.m., you can enjoy $9 wings and a big old glass of Stella for just $5. If you have yet to visit, please check this place out. It is the Irish Rover Station House on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne, and you can find them on the web at irishroverstationhouse.com. You know who we haven't heard from in a while, Bill? That Ray Didinger.
Hi, this is Ray Didinger, and it is always fun to talk sports with these two guys, Bill and Chet, on Philly Pressbox Radio.
Always good to hear Ray's voice.
It is. We got.
What are we?
We'll be talking to him soon. I'm pretty sure.
2 weeks from today, or are you going to get to that later? Is it 2 weeks from today? First practice.
2 weeks from today. Yeah, is when training camp officially opens. How about that? July 20
days.
Whatever it
How
is.
about
25th.
that? Almost time. Hey, Chet. We and the Sixers got their first look at 19-year-old 6'5" guard VJ Edgecombe in the Summer League game. He certainly didn't disappoint, only to be followed up with an injury game off. You can't make this stuff up. This organization needs to stop this crap.
Bill, I forgot to DVR the game Saturday night when Edgecombe made his debut. I did see some of the highlights, though, and apparently VJ wasn't shy about shooting. 27 shots. He made 13 of them, finished with a double-double, 28 points and 10 rebounds, plus 4 assists, a couple of steals, just 2 turnovers. So that was all very, very impressive. But, yeah, then comes the word that he had suffered a thumb contusion, so he missed not only the Monday game, but the Tuesday game as well. The latter, a thrilling 1-point victory over the Grizzlies in Summer Sixers action. And, yes, I actually watched it, Bill. Second-round pick Janai Brown grabbed 12 rebounds in that Tuesday win. And a young guy who was really impressive was Judah Mintz, yet another guard. They have a lot of guards on the Sixers, who poured in 26 points. Mintz, who went undrafted last year, spent last season with the G League Delaware Bluecoats and will likely be back there again this fall. But the guy looks like he can play. And Mintz tomorrow celebrates his 22nd birthday. You didn't watch any of these games, I bet, Bill.
No, I didn't. I'm not going to. But, Chet, just come out, tell us Edgecombe is going to play every other game, every third game. It don't matter. Don't tell me the guy plays one game in the summer. He's a 19-year-old kid, and he's got a boo-boo already on his thumb, and we got to give him an injury game off. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do. We've done it for all these crybabies that we have on this team that have come and gone and won nothing.
Bill, it sounds like you don't trust the 76ers organization.
It's not that I don't trust them. They stink.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say. They keep this. How long they did this? What with Embiid? What 12 years ago now?
Well, he missed 2 full seasons because of the foot.
And right. That was the 11th and 12th year ago from now, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere
and
like
now
that.
Every year since he's had various injuries.
And they didn't 25 have the same thing? Didn't they send him out a year?
Oh, yeah. He did.
Yeah. I mean, and now all of a sudden we want to baby everybody. Stop with the baby stuff. It's time to win something. It's time to play and turn this organization around before no one even cares.
Yeah, and they're getting to that point, unfortunately. But, hey, they are optimistic that Quentin Grimes will be re-signed. One report from The Athletic yesterday said the Sixers are almost certain that Grimes will be back with the team. We shall see. We did get the official word over the past week that, yes, both Eric Gordon and Kyle Lowry will be back. They are 36 and 39 years of age, respectively. I say to that, Bill, why?
Why?
Go with the young
so you
guys.
could give the 19-year-old an injury game, I guess.
Speaking of Summer League hoops, Cooper Flagg is set to make his debut with the Dallas Mavericks in a Las Vegas Summer League game Thursday night. And secondary market tickets are a hot item. A couple of $100 for regular seats, up to $2,500 for a courtside seat. Yes, this is for a Summer League game.
Yeah. It's not like, well, I was going to say it's not like he's not going to play 82 during the season, but he was with the Sixers, he might play 32. So I better not say that.
Bill, I know you want to go tailgating, and we're going to do that in just a second. But ahead of our segment on the top current pro athletes in Philly, let's have our viewers start giving us their take. So over the next couple of minutes, who do you think are the top 3 or 4 or 5 current active athletes among the 4 major pro teams in Philadelphia? Who do you think are the very, very best, the top-notch Philly pro athletes? Give us your top 3 or 4 or 5.
And I'll preface that a little bit too, Chet. And as I was trying to go through that and thinking about what top meant, did top mean best?
It means best, not necessarily most accomplished, just the best.
Yeah,
your game right now.
Yeah, well, I struggled with that a little bit as I was putting my list together.
It's not easy.
Yeah,
not easy.
But it'd be interesting to see who everybody has. They shouldn't be that hard, I don't think. It was that 5 through 10 that was a little tougher, I thought. That's for sure.
And then you and I will compare.
Absolutely. Hey, Chet, what could be better than a summer of Phillies baseball and tailgate? First place Phillies baseball and tailgating with the best tailgaters in Philadelphia, Bob Cavanaugh and the gang at Cavs Philly Tailgates.
Yeah, Cavs Philly Tailgates has been cooking up a terrific catering business for some 35 years, known best for their tailgate parties. Cavs is a 3-time winner of Philly Tailgates, Jack Daniels' Great American Tailgate Party Contest, and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award. Cavs also does corporate events, parties, you name it. Of course, Cav hosts tailgate parties before all Eagles games outside the Link, and there will be various tailgates outside Citizens Bank Park this month and next month as well, ahead of Phillies games. There's one before a Phillies Angels game, one before a Phillies Red Sox games later in July, and ahead of the Orioles Phillies game on August 6th. Of course, Cav will also host a tailgate outside the Link on September 4th before the Eagles and Cowboys kick off the NFL season. Get details on all upcoming events at Cavs website, phillytailgates.com. And if you have questions, you can email them at cavscatering@verizon.net. Cavs Philly Tailgates is the way to go. And Bill, that season opener, September 4th, is exactly 8 weeks and 1 day away right now. So 57 days that would be. And number 57, most recently for the Eagles, was this guy, TJ Edwards. He was a pretty good ball player for the Eagles. TJ Edwards, a Bird from 2019 through 22 before leaving as a free agent to join the Chicago Bears.
Hey, I want to throw this up here out of our comments real quick while you were talking.
Yeah.
So here's one guy's pick, and then here's the comment from the other guy.
Yeah, Denny doesn't pay attention. Denny loses focus all the time.
Denny's not paying
I
attention.
said current. I said active. Does Malloy hear that? No.
Hey, Chet, just curious, what are you doing this weekend? Is there any chance that you're going to be in Pittsburgh?
I was going to get to that, Bill, because, it's funny. You sent me this information, and that, like Denny, I am a former bowler. Denny and I were both pretty good bowlers.
I didn't know that.
And he's a Pittsburgh fan, but maybe Denny will be in Pittsburgh this week. Why? What's going on, Bill?
Well, I saw a little piece that was actually on Fox 29 in Philly, so this is a real thing. They're doing a fundraiser this week in Pittsburgh. I didn't get to play the bowling alley. It is nude bowling, Chet.
Balls out bowling, Bill. Balls out, they call it officially.
Bowling. Yeah. So you have to buy a ticket. It's I don't really know what to say. The only caveat that they threw out there is the females had the option of wearing a lower garment.
Yes, but they got to be topless at the very
least. And you had to wear shoes. Apparently, you have to wear shoes.
Well, you got to protect the lanes. You can't.
Well, you don't want to stub your toes, is what I'm thinking. But yeah, I didn't know. I know you like to travel and get out, and I didn't know if maybe you would be going to Pittsburgh. And now that I found out that you and Malloy are actually bowlers, heck, now it scares me.
If you have bowling balls, make sure you polish your balls.
There you go. All right, let's get off of that
bowling, though, I was actually going to tie this in because I think it was Joe Howe who posted this the other day. A picture of Skittle Bowl. Man, I loved Skittle Bowl as a young'un. PJ said he still has his. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he does. But
he said he does.
He said he threw a 299 once. I never got a 299. I did have a lot of 200s. It was kind of a pain in the ass to have to set up all the pins all the time.
Because then they'd want to fall over before you got them all up and knock them all down again before you got them all.
But it was fun. It was so much fun. I loved Skittle Bowl.
Well,
and no, I've never gone nude bowling, and probably never will.
No, I'm not even thinking that's. I don't know, but it was real. It was a Fox 29 piece, and I don't know.
Yep, PJ got it.
Speaking of fun, WIP, as you said, did an interesting survey a couple weeks ago. Listing their top 11 current Philadelphia athletes. We're expanding it to 12, and we're going to unveil that tonight.
Well, some may accuse us of basically ripping off 94 WIP with this project, but I prefer to think of it as an homage to them. And I should note, as they explained it, everybody does a top 10 list, so they decided to make it a top 11. Well, we're going to go one better still and give you our top 12 active pro players in Philadelphia sports. You hear that, Denny Malloy? Active pro players. And I'll tell you, putting the list together was fun, but I found it also kind of challenging, at least, getting the order right and then making some of the tough decisions down the bottom of the list. We had to factor in things like, what has the player done lately? How long has he been playing this well? What's the outlook for the, near-term future for this particular guy, etc. Now, Bill, be honest. Do you remember that we actually did this exercise just about a year ago? I totally forgot.
No, I didn't remember.
I, honest to God, totally forgot that we did this a year ago. And let me see. Here it is. We did this last year. This is last year's list, Bill, that you and I did. I don't remember doing this, but I looked and we did. I had Joel Embiid number 1, Bryce Harper number 2. You had Bryce Harper.
I do remember that because you were so wrong on Embiid. I remember.
You had Embiid all the way down at number 10.
Yeah. Where's he at on my list this year?
We'll get to that. Trey Turner was on your list. I had Travis Konechny, number 12 on mine. We both had Zach Wheeler in the top 4 or 5. Lane Johnson in the top 3 for both of us. Again, this was last year. And I mentioned WIP. WIP surveyed a whole bunch of fans and their internal on-air people and put it all together and came up with this list for their top 11. Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, Zach Wheeler, Bryce Harper, and A.J. Brown, the top 5. So I gave us the assignment of coming up with our top 12 for this year. That's when I discovered that we actually did this last year too. it sucks getting old. You forget things like that. But yeah,
No
we did
kidding.
last year. We're doing it again this year. So should we start with say 12 through 6 for the both of us?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
And then I'll show the whole list later.
Yeah, so I'll go with my first handful. I actually had 2 honorable mentions that I threw in there. And my honorable mentions are Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. If they're lockdown corners for the next decade, or lockdown defensive backs wherever DeJean ends up playing, they're real, and they're going to end up moving up on this list. So even after 1 year, if they continue to grow and be as good as they are, they're going to be on this list. So I will leave them in my honorable mention.
I had 3 honorable mentions. I had Quinyon Mitchell, Tyrese Maxey, and Matvey Mishkov. Mishkov did not quite make my top 12, but I had to at least give him honorable mention after a pretty good rookie season.
All right, so I'll go with my 12, 11, and 10. My 12 is that Matvey Mishkov. He's the future. If they're going to get better, it's going to be him doing it. My 11, Tyrese Maxey, because he's the best player that the Sixers have, and he's the guy they're going to build around because that other guy's a bum. Number 10 is Devontae Smith. And the reason I put him so low, Chet, is I'm not sure because they have A.J. Brown. I'm not sure that Devontae is a number 1 receiver if A.J. Brown wasn't there. And I love him. I think he's a great player. Just not sure that he is a number 1 receiver. So I got him at 10.
Okay. I'm going to go in the other direction and give you my 10 through 12, Bill. I had Devontae Smith also at number 10. So you and I agreed on that. At number 11, I had Kyle Schwarber. I know you had him a little higher. And at number 12 on my list, Bill, I have Joel Embiid.
Yeah, well.
Now, remember, he was number 1 last year for me, all the way down to number 12 because of the injuries.
Yeah.
But assuming he is reasonably healthy, which is, I know, a major assumption, I have to at least put him on the list. And
well, you can't assume. That's why he's not anywhere on my list. I can't assume.
I understand
anything.
I understand that. But, if he's even reasonably healthy, he's got to be in the top 12. So I put him right down at number 12. So, all right, let's go 9 through 6.
9 through 6. My number 9 is Jalen Carter. If he, again, another guy continues to get better, they're throwing comparisons there and Donald and that kind of stuff. If he continues to be that guy, he's on this list and he's going to move up at some point too. Number 8, Jordan Mailata. Fantastic player, left tackle. He's the protector of the quarterback on the backside. And I like everything about him. He's just an animal. Yeah. Number 7, Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a whole lot to say about him, but they're not winning if he doesn't produce either. And hopefully they re-sign him.
Did you give me 6?
Oh, you want 6? 6 is I have A.J. Brown at 6 because he is a number 1 receiver and could easily be higher on this list, I think, because I think he's that good. As I said, the night they traded for him, I said, this is something special before he ever put on a uniform. So for an Eagles uniform. So I'm a huge A.J. Brown fan.
All right. There's Bob Moser's list right there. All right. Now, as for me, Bill, number 9, you're not going to like this, but I have Bryce Harper all the way down at number 9 because, like Embiid, he's been hampered by injuries, and I had him all the way at number 2 last year, but this year he has not been that impressive.
Was that yesterday or before his 4 hits today?
Before today's performance, certainly. But, he hasn't impressed me overly this season, and I'm concerned that he may turn into something of a Joel Embiid in terms of, nagging injuries every year that'll cause him to miss time. So that's why
you've been listening to Mikey Miss a little too much.
No. Number 8, Jordan Mailata, same as you. We both have Mailata at number 8. Not only a super left tackle, but a great guy. Number 7, you did not have this guy on the list, and I understand it. He's only been an Eagle 1 year, but Zach Bond. He just had a tremendous year for the Birds as the new linebacker, a rare linebacker that the Eagles decided to keep around and pay. and he was terrific. Can he keep it up? I don't know.
Yeah, I thought about him too, and I backed him out because he was only 1 year.
Yeah.
Great year it was, but again, can he keep it up?
But there's another guy who has only been here 1 year that's going to be high on both of our lists. Number 6 for me, Jalen Carter. You had him at number 9. I have him at number 6. Jalen Carter is really, really good. There's a new survey or whatever out just yesterday or today that has him ranked as the 3rd best defensive tackle in the league behind, I forget who was first, Chris Jones second. So, yeah, Jalen Carter, 3rd best in the league, number 6 on my list of Philly active pro athletes.
Okay, that takes me to 5, 4, and 3.
Yeah.
I'll go with number 5, future Hall of Famer Lane Johnson. He's just ridiculously good. And it's year after year. He's going to the Hall of Fame. Number 4 is Bryce Harper. They're not winning the World Series. They're not getting to the World Series unless Bryce Harper is the guy, along with Kyle Schwarber, that's going to take them there. What am I at? Number 3. You want my number 3?
No, let's stop right there. We'll give our top 3 later. All right, there's PJ's list. Number 5 for me, A.J. Brown. You had him at number 6. I have him at number 5. He's clearly a number 1 receiver, one of the very best in the league. Number 4, and Bill, this is where you're going to want to kill me, Jalen Hurts. I have Jalen Hurts at number 4. I know. I'm just not sold on him totally as an elite quarterback. I just need to see a little more from him in the passing game. I know he was the MVP in the Super Bowl. I know he's good.
You need to turn off your radio. Turn off your radio.
It is not that.
Come on, man.
No, I have him at number 4. All right, we'll get to our top 3 now, and go ahead. Let's do 3, 2, 1. You go first.
All right, number 3, I have Zach Wheeler. Just because of his consistency with the Phillies. You know, I looked up, I got in a rabbit hole today for a second because Verlander was pitching, and I started looking at all-time wins and things like that. You know, Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola together are like 120 wins behind Steve Carlton. Together.
Yeah, behind Carlton. Yeah, I believe that.
I mean, he's not got Hall of Fame numbers, but he's had a great 6 years with the Phillies. So I put him up there, and I would go with Curt Schilling too, like Paul said. But I have no problem in 2025 giving Zach Wheeler the ball.
He's been terrific this year. Yeah, terrific. Hope he gets to start the All-Star game. Number 2, Bill.
Number 2, Saquon Barkley. The only reason Saquon Barkley is number 2 is because he was only here 1 year, obviously a tremendous year. But they had a 1,000-yard back before Saquon in Miles Sanders. They've had other 1,000-yard backs with this offensive line. Certainly not to take anything away from Saquon. He's one of the main reasons they won the Super Bowl. But I have him at number 2.
Denny Malloy saying football knowledge. Bill Furman, Hurts is just a good quarterback. So maybe not elite. So maybe Dennis Malloy and I are kind of agreeing here. I don't know.
That would scare me. Next thing you'll be telling me you're going bowling.
And you do have Jalen Hurts number 1, Bill, right?
Jalen Hurts is my number 1. He is the future. He is the now. He's been to the Super Bowl twice. Everybody wants to pick him apart because he's got good players around him. Well, so does everybody else that wins the Super Bowl. Dan Marino didn't have good players around him, and Dan Marino was still Dan Marino. You win because you're a team. Jalen Hurts was the captain of that team, and Jalen Hurts is the guy in this city if they're going to continue to win. Long after Saquon Barkley will be gone, Jalen Hurts is still going to be quarterback in the Eagles.
Well, we will talk about that next year and see if Hurts is higher on my list. But yeah, as you've probably figured out, my 3, 2, 1, Lane Johnson at number 3, as you said, future Hall of Famer. And he is still at the very top of his game. And the fact that he's been doing it so long and so well is why I have him ahead of Hurts at number 3. Number 2, I got Zach Wheeler. just how good Wheeler has been this year. And we're talking about, an active current athlete. There's nobody better than Zach Wheeler right now, except number one, Saquon Barkley. Only one season as an Eagle, but a record-setting season it was. And I think he can continue that to an extent. Next year, he's certainly not going to run for 2,000 yards, in my view. I think they're going to pass more, but Saquon Barkley just had incredible seasons. So that's my top three: Barkley, Wheeler, and Lane Johnson. 1, 2, 3.
So if they pass more, they're going to then Hurts is going to be the guy. Then.
Yeah, so let's see how good he is. And maybe he'll move up higher on my list next year. And so here is our top 12 side by side right there. We agreed on a lot to an extent.
Yeah. Yeah, once you got that 12 guy, get him out of there, then we're right on. I can live with Zach Bond being on that list somewhere. I have no problem with that. The rest were pretty close.
Yep. And that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Anybody
else got anything?
I don't know who we missed.
Joe put some up there right at the very beginning. I put it up, but you were talking. I don't know if you saw it.
I know he said he had Wheels at number 2.
There he is. I got him. There he is. Wheeler, Barkley, Hurts, Schwarber.
Yeah, I did see you put that up.
Yep, there you go. Konechny's an interesting guy too. Not a bad guy for the list.
I thought about him,
but I think
top 20 certainly.
Yeah, I think that the future is going to be Michkov, and Konechny's still going to be good. And I was going to put any Flyers goaltender on my list somewhere.
Oh yeah, sure you were.
any
Let's
Flyers
move along, Bill.
That could be any good. All right, hey, we have a great guest tonight, at Paul Hagen, who's coming to Philly Pressbox Radio next week.
Well, for the second time in 3 weeks, Bill, we will have a first-time visitor joining us. He covers the Phillies and Flyers for On Pattison, and it'll be great to meet him and talk with him. Anthony Sanfilippo joining the big show next week, so that'll be fun. He's a knowledgeable guy and a good writer.
Very good. Looking forward to that. He is good. I like reading his stuff. I read a lot of his stuff, actually.
Yeah. Hey, a couple of odds and ends, Bill. This week, Joe Watson and Bill Barber, a couple of Stanley Cup winning Philadelphia Flyers, both celebrating birthdays. Joe turned 82 on Sunday. Billy Barber turns 73 later this week on Friday, I believe. And let me see speaking of birthdays, I think I have one more thing to show you. Yeah, a guy who was kind of connected to the Phillies 1980 World Series championship is turning 70 years of age today. He is 70 today. He's the guy who was at the plate right here.
The crowd will tell you what happens.
Yeah, Wilson.
Jersey kid.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's a New Jersey kid. He's right over your neck of the woods.
70 years young today, which means he was, 25 at that time.
Yep. And happy birthday to Mike Furman today.
That's right.
39. How did that happen? How did that happen?
How old?
39.
39. Wow.
Yeah. And he ain't the oldest one.
Unbelievable. I know. You're old, Bill.
You're not kidding.
One other thing. Something big over the weekend for music fans. Black Sabbath playing their final gig ever. Ozzy, in poor health over the last few years. He's got Parkinson's and various other ailments. But they had a big festival-type concert, and they finished with 4 classic Black Sabbath tunes. And Ozzy sounded pretty good, all things considered. I saw them in 1976, Bill, and then again in 2016, 40 years apart. And now they are hanging it up, Black Sabbath.
Wow. All right. Anything else before we wrap it up?
I'm trying to decide if I should do the naked bowling thing in Pittsburgh this weekend or go to New Orleans and visit my son. Now, that is what I'm doing. I will be in New Orleans for the weekend.
I would go to, New Orleans isn't my favorite place either, but at least hopefully you'll have clothes on there.
I will. And by the way, that the group that is doing that naked bowling is the Pittsburgh area naturists. They also hold a naked radical trivia night the second Sunday of every month at the P-Town Bar. And I bet you Jane is going to be there.
The P-Town Bar.
P-Town. Well, yeah, like for Pittsburgh. I hope that's what that means. Jane, tell us how it is.
Oh, my goodness. Let's wrap this thing up.
Please.
Let's thank tonight's special guest, Paul Hagen. Our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and PPCC 118 Raz Room. For Jim, Chet, Chesco, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll join Philly Pressbox Radio next Wednesday, July 16th at 7 p.m. You see us live on Facebook, on our Philly Pressbox Radio YouTube channel, and on the STT Sports Network YouTube channel, and listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans. Let's go first place Phillies.
Happy trails to you till we meet again.